second, I have just two questions.
Please go ahead.
Every day, thousands of Palestinians are killed, and nobody cares about it. But when one American is killed, the whole world just goes upside down.
Okay.
And second,
yes.
Is there a chance that the UN inspectors will go back to Iraq?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other calls? Hello? Well, we've lost the call. Let me start with our recent caller, the previous one. She seems to be an American citizen. She said she supports President Bush. I mean, we're not here saying that Americans shouldn't support President Bush, but she pointed out that, to you, Mr. Findlay, she said you shouldn't degrade America.
I realize, I heard her comment. George Bush is the one that has cut down America, not me. He has cut down America from its standard as an advocate of the rule of law, of decency to all people, extending human rights to everyone, regardless of whether they live. I wish he hadn't done it, but I feel obligated myself as one who voted for him and had the highest hopes for his administration. I feel I owe it to him to tell him when he's wrong, and he has been wrong in his policy towards the Palestinians almost every day of his administration.
With regarding to the Palestinian issue, Mr. Findlay, one of our callers spoke about the Holocaust, and the Germans, they've killed the Jews, of course, in the Holocaust, around 6 million. Of course, it's not only Jews, there was other people killed. A lot of Arabs and Muslims think, why do we have to pay the price of what happened in Europe? Why should Palestinians, for example, have to sacrifice their state, Palestine, the whole of Palestine, and share it with the Jews who are of Polish origin or Russian origin, who don't even relate to the land? These are people who've lived there Palestinians who've lived there for thousands of years. And here we have immigrants from abroad who have no relation with the land, occupying it, controlling 80% of historical Palestine, and they don't even want to give the 20%, which is the West Bank and Gaza, to the Palestinians. And we have to accept it.
It's an unjust situation.
If it's an unjust situation, let me say what a lot of experts are saying. The only way the situation will be balanced is that if the Arabs win a war against Israel, it's until then, which is, of course, against what people are saying, the talk of peace, the strategic initiative of the Arabs, which is peace. But it seems the more Arabs run after peace or seek the dream of peace, the more Israel becomes arrogant, the more Israel attacks South Lebanon, for example. Until today, Israeli planes violate Lebanon's airspace and nothing is done about it.
That's right.
Golan Heights being occupied.
Let me mention that when I first met with Yasser Arafat back in 1978 in Damascus, he made a pledge to me and authorized me to relay it to the Jimmy Carter administration. And in that pledge, he said that the Palestinians would live at peace with Israel. They would have de facto diplomatic relations with Israel. They would renounce the use of force to enlarge the size of the new Palestine if they were enabled to establish Palestine on the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza Strip. And there be a connecting corridor between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. He said in that circumstance, there would be peace between Israel and Palestine. I relayed that to the Carter administration. It got no response whatever, which I view as most unfortunate, but that's a fact of history. Now, that is exactly what, or almost exactly what, Crown Prince Abdullah is recommending. It's what I recommended in my bill of 1977. It remains the best hope for peace. It's a compromise that doesn't please all Israelis, many of whom want to absorb the entirety of biblical Israel into the state of Israel today. It doesn't please all the Palestinians because some of them will not be able to go back to their homes in Jaffa and other parts of Israel proper that were their homes from which they were driven. But it's a compromise that I think holds promise for a durable peace between Israel and Palestine, and I hope something like this will move forward.
We have two calls. Hello? Yes, hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
First
thing is to the lady caller which she called earlier.
Yes.
I think it's against the Americans. They say that everybody has a right to express their feelings. And when Mr. Paul Findlay says something which is not suitable to them, they say it's not good.
Fine.
Second thing is, don't you, Mr. Findlay, think that it is due to Muslim leadership within the Muslim countries which have fallen prey to the Zionists and all these policies, that they don't represent the feeling of their population?
Okay.
And then, we are in dilemma which we are in right now.
Okay, we have another caller. Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello. I'm Ron. I was just enjoying your show.
Yes.
And I'd like to comment about the 15th century of the religious wars that we've had before in the past. And God created us in His own image, and religion is a choice for mankind. My question is, why are we fighting each other all the time?
Okay, thank you. We have Aisha also on the line. Hello?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Aisha.
Yeah, I just want to ask Mr. Findlay, since America is so concerned about Israel, there's one plan. Why don't they evacuate one of their states and move all the Israeli Jews there? And this way Americans can protect them. And if they start butchering their children, maybe they'll realize.
Okay.
And one more question.
Yes.
Since we don't know who assassinated President Kennedy, do you think Osama bin Laden should be the suspect?
All right, thank you, Aisha.
You're welcome.
I think Osama bin Laden wasn't even born at the time John Kennedy was killed. Hello? We have a next caller. Hello? Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Can I have a question, please?
First I would like to say I very much respect Mr. Findlay and his opinion.
Okay.
For the U.S. lady who said Mr. Bush is doing fine, the history will always remember Mr. Bush before the 9/11. He was spending 1 month in his ranch, and he left the Middle East completely. And then Mr. President after 9/11, and it's not Mr. President, it's his cabinet who's helping him.
Okay.
Number two, for the gentleman who said about, or asked, or made a statement about the Palestinian making bomb from themselves. Tell me how they can fight. They don't have F-16s or Apaches.
Yes.
They don't have marine or submarines. They are occupied people, and they are fighting. This is the only weapon they have to fight with.
Okay.
Whether it is Muslim or not Muslim, this is the only way to fight.
All right. Thank you for your
question.
Three. Okay.
I go back to my question about who killed JFK and the CIA. Because the CIA, after the 9/11, I'm sure, have got more budget.
Okay. This is the same caller. All right, thank you.
Enemy number one.
Okay, appreciate your calls. It's the same caller who wants to know who killed John Kennedy. We'll probably find out one day. Let me start. It's a number of questions, Mr. Findlay. Let me start with the point about fighting in the Middle East, of course, and our viewers' call about Palestinians. They're not armed. Most of the Palestinians, not all of them, are defenseless population. They're using homemade bombs to fight one of the largest sophisticated arsenals in the world, the U.S. And at the same time, the Americans, I mean, there is a law in the U.S. Government which says that American planes and American weapons cannot be used
except in legitimate self-defense.
Self-defense. I mean, do you think that the situation applies in Israel? The use of Apache helicopters and F-16s, U.S. made, given free to Israel.
That was an issue that I raised with Jimmy Carter, directly with Secretary of State Cy Vance, back in the Carter administration. He wrote a letter stating that, in my opinion, it's the same law.
Since 1982 invasion.
Just about that time. And Cy Vance, the U.S. government hates to find Israel guilty of any misdeed. And that was evident in the letter that Cy Vance finally wrote to me, that Israel may have violated the law. He knew Israel had violated the law, but as the officer of the State Department, as the lieutenant of the President of the United States, he was instructed not to make any statement that would find Israel in violation of law. I'm afraid that same spirit exists today in the Bush administration.
Speaking today about what happened in the occupied territories, today at least 27 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza and the West Bank. There was an assassination attempt against the head of Palestinian Security Services in Gaza, in Jaida. In addition to that, there was the bombing 2 days ago of Palestinian President Yasser Arafat's buildings, in which a lot of people have been killed. The cycle of violence from the Israeli side is continuing to rise. At this moment, there is the Saudi initiative, which came from Prince Abdullah.
Yes.
A lot of people are pinning hopes on the Saudi initiative. Actually, Crown Prince Abdullah is taking the initiative to Beirut for the Arab Summit to make it as a unified Arab initiative. Do you